You ready? Here we go. Coach Kia, what am I doing? Hat. Need my hat. Got my Tatua hat. Laced up, faced up, and I'm dressed to impress. Fuck those lyrics up. I don't know. Let's see what's on the radio, guys.
I love spreading joy with gifts this time of year.
Yep, just what I thought. Bullshit. Here we go. I'd rather listen to the constant humming of my tires than to listen to some nonsensical, fabricated, commercialized bullshit on the fucking radio. I was having this discussion with somebody the other day. I was like, you know, I can't remember the last time I was like, man, I can't wait to get into my car and listen to what's on the radio. Dog water. That's what it is. You know a time I miss when the radio was like actually good. And I'm here in the Kansas City area, and growing up, Hot 103 jams. Don't forget to slam that Z. Used to have the Hot 8 at 8. I think they still do it. I don't know. I haven't listened to it for a while. But they would play the Hot 8 at 8, the top 8 songs at 8 o'clock, or finish up at 8 o'clock. And way before the interwebs, before MP3, downloads, streaming, us kids had to actually record our favorite songs. It was too poor to go out and buy albums, cassettes, and CDs. We would listen to the radio, and on the old school radios, you could have a tape in there and press record, play at the same time, and it would capture whatever's on the radio. That's where they get the term mixtapes from. Kids, there was actually a tape that was mixed up with different songs. So I wish I could find those things. I would record the songs. The problem with the radio, and I don't remember the DJs. If I ever find one, I'll have to listen to the DJs that were on the radio at the time. They would always cut in before the end of the song. So say the ending song, like the best part's coming up, they're hitting high note. Hey, welcome back to Hot 103 Jams. That's your number. And the song's not done yet. It's like, bro, please shut the fuck up till the song is done. But you would record it like that, and then when you would play that tape back, you'd hear everything. It used to drive me up the wall. Nowadays we got Spotify, and I use YouTube Red, stream music, and I went off on a tangent telling you about what's on the radio or what's not on the radio. Fuck that. I know what you're thinking. Hopping on the freeway. We are wrapping up a 48-hour shift. Woo. Clear this up. Wrapping up my 48-hour shift. I got transferred to another station, and in the city where I work in the North District, and got floated down to the South District. A different apparatus there. Is actually got to drive a ladder truck, which I don't get to drive the aerial truck very much. It's a lot different than a pumper. You have different types of fire trucks. You have engines, you have quints, you have ladder trucks, tiller trucks. You know, the one where the guy drives in the back and it's like two different sections. Most people love those things. We don't have a tiller. Those are pretty common for more metropolitan style area, like a downtown, where you got to navigate through tight corners. But this said, I got to float down to a south station where there's a ladder truck, and it's generally a lot slower paced station. And got off this morning, 48-hour shift, and I didn't run a single call. Lucked out somehow. Some nights you'll be up all fucking night running calls, fire alarms, accidents. We run medical calls and be up all night. Some nights it's once, and sometimes it's not at all. And last night rolled the dice, no calls. The night before, no calls. And if you're wondering why Coach Kia is so energetic, it's because I got 2 nights of sleep. Let's go. Getting off this morning, we're hopping on the freeway. Want to thank you for hopping in. We're doing another episode of Driven video series with Coach Kia, where you get to spend some time here in the front seat, and we get to talk about whatever's on the mind. And this morning, it's kind of all over the place, but let's talk about it. Woke up early this morning, hopped out of bed, was refreshed and ready to go, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, just excited that I got to sleep all night. I love my sleep. Man, my sleep is pretty much how I determine my day. If I had a shitty night's worth of sleep, it's fixing to be a shitty day's worth of attitude. For me, I really, really try. I try, but when you're not feeling well, it's hard to fake the funk. It is. Got 2 really good workouts through the 48-hour shift set. Did chest and triceps yesterday. Be dropping a video on my suggested chest and triceps exercises fairly straightforward. But I've been learning that I get a lot of newer beginner level lifters or people looking to make the jump into fitness, and they don't know some of the basics. I heard somewhere if you can explain it to a fourth grader, then you understand the concepts enough and you've mastered it to a point where you can explain it to a fourth grader. And unfortunately, here in the United States, the average reading level is that of a fifth grader. I saw that somewhere in a marketing thing somewhere, and I was like, fifth grade, really? And I think what it's leading to is the simplicity of the message. You can have a really complex message or product that you're putting out there, but if you overshoot your audience, if you talk over them, they're not going to get it. But if you have mastered a subject, that means you should be able to explain it to someone with a fifth grade reading level. Makes sense? When I'm doing these videos, I decided to start a series for entry-level beginners with fitness, and that's what I did with my chest and tricep exercise yesterday. The day before that, I did dumbbell and kettlebell workouts, a fast and efficient workout, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, concentrating on mobility, form, and things that I commonly see are holdups, especially with anybody that works a job in the public sector. Like myself, I'm a public servant. I've got to be able to move a decent amount of weight, but none of that means shit if I can't have any mobility in my shoulders, if I can't lift things up at different angles. And when it applies to my job as a firefighter, being able to deadlift 50 pounds, 500 pounds is like really good at a competition. But here in the field, it really doesn't mean shit if you have terrible form and you end up tweaking your back and you're on medical leave for 6 to 12 weeks to recover. It doesn't make much sense. Having a balance between the two, being able to move a decent amount of weight, but also doing it safely and doing it properly, but having all facets of your physical fitness make sense. Mobility, endurance, cardiovascular health, mental toughness, being able to walk yourself through it in your mind. And that's what I did day one, is made a dumbbell and kettlebell exercise routine, which I don't do them often. I'll be honest with you, I like lifting the weights. I like putting on the muscles. I like to foci the muscle. So kettlebell is a little bit different. But the one thing I learned while I was doing it and trying to do these simple videos the other day is that as simple as it seems, it still takes a lot of form, and you could fuck your shoulder up, you could twist the wrist, all sorts of stuff, especially if you're used to working in a single plane, like straight forward or up and down. I'm gonna roll those out. Actually, I'm putting together a free kettlebell exercise program that somebody can implement if they're on shift or if they want to get in a quick, effective exercise in 20, 30 minutes and the only equipment they have is a kettlebell. And it doesn't need to be heavy. The one I was using yesterday was like 25 or 30 pounds. It's a lot of weight. If you're doing a lot of reps, that's a lot of weight. And being able to hold good form, can't wait to bring that out for that, coming out soon. Recently launched a free meal prepping guide. I'll have a link for that down below. Grab you a copy. Nutrition's a common struggle point for most people. And again, it's simplifying it to where you could explain it to a fourth grader. Not that you're fourth graders, but that just puts it in a simplistic order, makes it understandable, and if you can understand it and you can implement some of the steps, then you can stick to it long term and actually see some results. I got past one of the main things that I do on this series. I like giving you a little bit of a weather update here in the Missouris, in the Show Me State, in the Missouri area. It is foggy. It's a little foggy today. It's Christmas Eve. Tomorrow's Christmas. Light traffic headed westbound on 435. Pretty chill outside. I don't know the exact degrees. It's 35 degrees outside. So sunbathing weather for those of you out there. Beautiful. Starting a 4-day off, 96 hours off. I have plans to do absolutely nothing. This is my second or third video of the day. Made my first video, dropped it on YouTube. Be sure to check it out. It's the top 10 laws of power when it comes to fitness, and was inspired by the 48 laws of power. Love the 48 laws of power. So insightful. and powerful. Can't describe power with power, but that's the only way I can put it, is that by grasping these concepts and then you can assimilate it to your life, implement it, makes all the difference. So I went through the 48 laws of power, selected the top 10 I thought applied to fitness, and gave you some examples. Be sure to check that video out. I'll leave a link for that down below. As far as the rest of the Christmas holiday, got Christmas tomorrow, Christmas Eve tonight, and haven't got anything for Christmas yet. Haven't bought anybody any gifts. Need to. Could always pull out some cash. Everybody likes cold hard cash. I think that's what I'll do. Let's talk about something that's going to benefit you. I don't mind getting on here and talking about myself, but my ultimate goal is that somebody learns something or inspired some type of way, whether it's in the gym or outside the gym, career-wise, dealing with the people around them. And I shared this on my Instagram story last night, where I was talking about this little reel I came across, a 10-second video, 15 seconds max. And it was of a podcast. This guy was explaining about the conversations you have with yourself. It says to always be the one that holds yourself in reality. Like, always check yourself. Never lie to yourself, because it could lead down a dangerous path. Let me explain. If you start believing a lie that you tell yourself, then you easily can lose grip with reality. And once you can fool yourself, then it becomes easier to fool others. Then you start getting into the blame game. You start making enemies of people who aren't your enemies. You start vilifying people around you, which starts isolating you, which leads to more repetitive self-doubt and constantly feeding yourself more of these bullshit lies because you decide to let go of reality. And I thought that was important, because I feel like we all tell ourselves little lies, but we are ultimately one person that can check us when it comes to reality. And so if you can make a promise to yourself to always keep it real, keep it a buck, keep it 100 with yourself, then you could always gauge yourself and have this way of checking reality. You ever watch the movie Inception? It's an analogy between that. So in the movie, they made sure to have an item that they were familiar with, that they were aware of how it felt, the dimensions of it, and how it would act in reality. And the main character would have this spinning top, so he would be able to grab it, make sure that he had it. Okay, it's there. Knows the feel of it, the weight, and would spin it on the table. And if he was in reality, the laws of nature are in place, and so it would spin and then it would fall. But if he was in one of these other dimensions, I forget what they call it, the different levels he would go on, he'd be able to pull it out and spin it. And in those dimensions, the laws of reality don't apply, and it would just keep spinning and spinning. And that was his gauge. That was his check. That was his reality check. That was the tool that he used. It's an analogy for what we're talking about. If you could keep yourself in check, be the spinning top, be that thing that you're familiar with, you understand that it's grounded in reality. Anytime you are unsure of what you're doing, you could check in with yourself, or you could have this thing that you're familiar with be what gauges you for figuring out if what you're telling yourself is the truth, and if what you're perceiving of others is the truth. Boom. Powerful stuff, isn't it? I love that movie. I got a couple of movies that I constantly watch over and over again because I enjoy the science part of it, but I enjoy the psychology and some of the philosophies behind it. Inception is one of them. Definitely one of them. The Matrix, that's blown up here recently in pop culture with the blue pill, red pill community, but the analogies within that story. Several of them. Man, I can't think of it right. Those two, I don't know why, but those are two I'm thinking right off the top. Inception's definitely one I've seen one too many times, and I thought that was helpful. Like I said, tomorrow is Christmas, but right after that's coming up on New Year's, and so this lesson plays true. Like, we start telling ourselves, all right, I'm gonna do it this year. I'm gonna kick the habit. I'm gonna learn the second language. I'm going to finally join that gym. I'm gonna lose the weight. Like, whatever it is, it's the time of year we start reflecting on that. And I feel like the most important thing to do before you get to that point is have this honest, no bullshit conversation with yourself, that you will always keep it real, that you'll always be the spinning top, that you'll be the reality check for yourself. and to always have something at the back end of that. So for me, it's setting up rewards and punishments. Now hear me out. When I talk about rewards, I don't mean if you've dieted so good for 90 days and you get to be a complete fucking fat ass and eat whatever you want the following 3 months. That's a reward for a day or for a cheap meal. That makes sense. And on the opposite side of that, for punishments, I think the punishment should match the law that was broken, but also to not be too hard on yourself. If your thing is to walk 10,000 steps a day and you maybe are short 100 or 1,000, doesn't mean to take a belt out and start beating the shit out of yourself. That's overdoing it. No, it's to have some kind of penalty on top of that, so you have these checks and balances with yourself. All right, if I don't hit 10,000 steps today, that means no phone for the next 24 hours. Something that matches the crime. The punishment's got to match the crime. You know what I'm saying? And getting into making New Year's resolutions and setting up goals, you need to first have that conversation with yourself. Have something that's going to check you back into reality. Have something that's going to be your spinning top, the thing you constantly check on and keep you normal. And if you can hold yourself to that, set up the rewards and the discipline actions that happen if you don't stick to it, then there's at least some consequences or some rewards for whatever you have set up to do. Because if you could not lie to yourself, have this constant checks and balances system, when you do start taking those things on, you can have realistic checking points, conversations with yourself or others around you to hold you and ground you in reality. And if that sounds like a daunting task, I'm going to give you some other steps you can implement to help you out with that. Look, if you're one of those people that's tough for you to do, here's what you should do, is find a partner to hold you accountable. Find a mentor. Hire a coach if you have to. Hire somebody to do the checks and balances with you. It really comes down to the accountability. If nobody knows, and you've only told yourself and you didn't set up this checks and balances system, and you end up giving up on it later, nobody knows. And there's no reward and there's no punishment for giving up on that. If you truly want to be accountable to it, set up some kind of rudimentary system. Not rudimentary, I meant redundant. And by redundant, all right, there's one thing that you can use to check yourself, but have a second and have a third and have a backup to the backup. That's what redundant means. And I'll use an example. If I'm planning on losing weight, which I am currently going through a cut right now, I'm trying to see how low I can go with my body fat and document the process that I implement along the way. Love to get to about 12% body fat at 5'8", 41 years of age, moderate activity, and having some experience done before. Been able to get in really lean shape before this time last year, but I think my lowest body fat percentage was like 14%. Love to get within striking distance of 10. No real reason but to say that I did it and want to show the effects of it. Starting to lean up and vascularity popping out a bit, so starting to see some fruits of the labor. But set you up a redundant checks and balances system. Get you an accountability partner. Join a group. Look, there's so many free groups out there for anything. For cat lovers, stitching group, for HIIT fit exercises. I don't know. Whatever it is you're trying to do, find a group. There's plenty of Facebook groups, Instagram. It's a day and age right now that you could find anybody, no matter how niche the market is. You're going to find somebody somewhere on the planet. If maybe you have this uncanny attraction to doorknobs, hear me out here. This is an example. I am like irresistibly attracted in a intimate way to doorknobs. You could probably find somebody on the internet that's attracted to doorknobs as well. I'm just saying, that's an example, pretty extreme, and I'm gonna have to Google that here later to see if it exists. But regardless, so don't let that be an excuse. Find some accountability in a group. Have a partner go with you through the challenge, through the journey, whatever the goal is set up for you. If you want to lose some weight, I can guarantee somebody you know in your immediate circle probably wants to lose weight too. Team up with them. 2 is stronger than 1. And if you're one of those people that has the resources available to you for the time resources, but the money resources, hire a professional. Do it. And there's a reason why, is because you and an accountability partner are going through a weight loss challenge. Okay, let's say that's the case. Maybe that person becomes unavailable, sick, you can't get a hold of them. Or the other end is maybe you guys come to a plateau or you come up to a challenge where neither one of you knows the answer. Then what do? You got to Google it, or you got to find out. By hiring a professional, you can streamline that process, especially if they've done it time and time again or they're really successful at doing it. You have somebody that you're paying for their knowledge, paying for the tricks, the tips, how to implement it, the resources, everything you need. You have that person that you invested in to do that, then you call on them. But that system's only as good as the follow-up. You can have all the tools and resources, but if you're not using them or following the steps correctly, like your coach or mentor will tell you, that's where they'll be able to make the correction. So I highly advise seeking out someone who's really good at what they do. Not just that, but make sure you align with them as far as personality, getting along with them. And let me clarify this a bit. Like for coaching, like I will be able to give you the same steps another coach would be able to give you. Essentially, weight loss is all the same when we talk about that in general. But if we don't get along and we don't communicate properly and my system doesn't fit into your lifestyle, it's not going to work for you. And I'm just using myself as an example. So find you a coach that you get along with, that you have some shared ground, some common ground with, and it'll go a long way for the understanding, but also for the implementation of whatever it is you're doing. I could go to somebody for business and ask them, hey, what are some steps I can help in my coaching business? But if this person's business model is maybe how they do business acquisitions for multi-million-dollar companies, it's going to be some business is business, but it's going to be very different for what I'm doing as an independent business owner. You see what I'm saying? So it's got to match the experiences. And if you don't talk the same language, that's obviously a problem. But to get somebody that you can really get along with and understand. Pulling off into the exit. And so before I get home, before I wrap up this episode, I wanted to thank you. Your time is the most valuable asset you have, and whether you listen to the whole video or parts of it, you spent some of it with me. And again, my hope is that you learned something, you're inspired in some type of way, and ultimately it makes some type of positive impact in your life. And if you learn that lesson and you pass it on to somebody else, you can see that there's a butterfly effect there. It's another one of those movies, Butterfly Effect, that I like watching and rewatching. Also, if you found this helpful and you like videos like this, like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. That does several things. It lets the algorithm know that there are people out there that somewhat enjoy the material, but also to help suggest more similar type content for you. So be sure to like, subscribe, drop me a message. I'll also leave a link to all of my other socials and my email, but you could also find down there that cooking guide, that meal prepping guide we talked about. You can download it. It's free, no obligation. Just download it, use it. Hopefully you find it helpful. You could join my free fitness community. It's the Tautua Tribe. I utilize the School Lab. It's not a paid group, guys. I stumbled across that because I see a lot of people will make a really good monthly income because they'll charge for these groups. I don't. It's free. I like having a community that I can share all these resources with and have more of that private group feel. Join the community, drop a message in there. I drop videos, tips, resources, and I'm rolling out a ton of free courses. Got a couple in there now. Go and check it out. I like covering the number one thing that's holding you back, offer you a solution, and then also give you a ton of free resources at the end of the call. So if you want to and you find that beneficial, be sure to hop in the scheduling link down below. You'll get a notification, I'll get one, and then we can hop on a call. And especially these next 4 days, I'm off on Christmas. My availability will have that all listed, but I'm just super glad that you hopped in and you jumped in another episode of Driven video series where you ride home with Coach Kia. Another turn or two, I'll be home. Remember, guys, that it's about progress, not perfection. That's what matters. Stay true to yourself. And in the meantime, be safe. We'll catch you on the next one. Coach Kia signing off.